today. Belal Muhammad is out of his welterweight title fight against Shavkat Rakhmonov. What about Dana White? And he's still firing shots at Francis Ngannou. Then there's Alexander Volkanovski. Is he going to step in the octagon with Diego Lopes? Also, Shira Bullet takes aim at Israel Adesanya. All of this and more on today's episode of Matter of Fact MMA. What's up? What's happening? Let's go. What's up, guys? We right back at it. We right back with it. It's your boy, Matt, and we are here to go over a few of the news topics. We're going to go over a few of the news topics going through the MMA sphere, not to be confused with the Las Vegas sphere, going down this week. So, at the tippy top, as I check my Nizzos, let's talk about, remember the name, Belal Muhammad, the welterweight champion of the world in the UFC, has pulled out of his title fight of UFC 310 with Shavkat Rakhmonov. So, Belal, I believe, released this via his social media first, but essentially he has a bone infection in his toe. I wasn't aware of bone infections. I mean, I guess I've heard of that, but, hey, man, sorry. So he's out of his title fight, man. He posted a nasty picture of his toe. The homie's toe looked like someone tried to tie a balloon animal and it went horribly wrong. You know what I'm saying? But nevertheless, man, Shavkat is without an opponent. And there's a little rumbling of if they'll end up doing some sort of an interim title fight with Shavkat versus another person, or if they'll have Shavkat fight one more person and then step in the octagon with Belal Muhammad. At this time, nothing's really set in stone. Nothing's really happening. All we know is there will not be a Belal Muhammad title defense or fight period on the night of UFC 310. However, entering the distance, there is a mysterious figure making his way from the Amazon. Face painted, bow and arrow in hand, jaw, chin, looks like Stonehenge. And that man's name is Poatan Alex Pereira, who has stepped up to the plate, has hit up the UFC and said, hey, yo, coach, if you need me, put me in. And the coach, Dana White, said, nah, we not going to need you. We going to go ahead and hold off on you. So that was the end of that. So we almost had Alex Pereira saving yet another UFC pay-per-view at UFC 310, but Dana White put the kibosh, if you will, on that. Now, let's move on while we talking about old tubby man with the big, deep pockets. You know what I'm talking about? We talking about Dana White. Why are we talking about Dana White? Man, Dana White last weekend, in the post-fight press conference of UFC 308, Dana White goes out there and takes aim at Francis Ngannou again. Now, granted, he didn't bring it up first. One of the media members brought it up first, but essentially, they asked Dana White what he thought about Francis Ngannou's comments or his reply to Dana White saying that he would have made more money in the UFC, in which Francis Ngannou was like, you're crazy. Like, I'm like close to 30 million up right now. Like, what do you want from me? Ain't no way I would have made that in these few years in the UFC. I wouldn't have. You know what I'm saying? John had to squabble for 10 million. You know what I'm saying? He's John effing Jones. You know what I'm talking about? He John effing Jones. He had to fight to get 10 million. Barely got that. So nevertheless, bro, Dana White takes aim, talks about, Francis would have made more money with us. I don't think about Francis. I don't care about Francis. Francis is a bad guy. He's a bad dude. He's not a good person. I'm paraphrasing here, but one of his statements that he made was something along the lines of, he wants to play the role of a hero, but he's not really that. Now, we all know Dana White will get out there and he'll say a lot of wild stuff and he'll make a lot of accusations and he'll lie. So this is nothing new. I just wanted to kind of poke a little hole, pause, in this theory because this theory of Francis Ngannou being a bad guy, right? Being extremely arrogant, being extremely conceited. Come on, bro. Really? Really? We gon' there has not been another fighter in mixed martial arts and especially in the UFC, including John Jones, that has ever labeled Francis Ngannou as a bad guy, you know, an arrogant guy, a conceited guy, not a good person. None of those things have ever been said about Francis Ngannou except for by Dana White. John Jones might have called him a P word and called him a few other things because he felt like Francis didn't want to fight him. But after everything that Francis does, whether it was his fight against Tyson Fury, his loss to Anthony Joshua, and his recent win over Pereira, John Jones has always been very complimentary of Francis Ngannou. And I would say John Jones is one of the bigger enemies that Francis has in the sport. So for Dana White to go out there and say all those things, you're out of pocket, Dana. You're out of pocket. Anyway, let's move on. How about this? How about Alexander Volkanovski possibly might be making his return in the octagon against Diego Lopes? What that tells me now, it's not set in stone, it's not even agreed upon bout. It's just a little rumbling in the jungle, if you know what I mean. Nevertheless, very interesting news right there because you got to wonder, like, what's up with Ilia Topuria, the man that walks out of that room? You know what I'm saying? What's up with him? You know, he says he wants to take a little bit of time off. Dana White is also saying that they may be going to Spain possibly next year in 2025 is the goal that he made. It's what he's shooting for. I would assume that we're probably looking at, if they can get that arena, probably sometime next summer will probably be the return of Ilia Topuria. Meanwhile, Diego's not going to wait that long. Volk's not going to wait that long. Again, the fight has not been agreed upon, but it's in the rumblings. It's in the jungle. It's out there. It's being hunted by Dana White and the matchmakers. So, we will see how that goes down. We will see if that ends up being the case. If so, outstanding fight. And then we would definitely have a clear number one contender. Not saying Volk can't get a rematch against Ilia Topuria. So, that's cool. And finally, last little bit of news. Shira Bullet has continued to take aim at Israel Adesanya, lobbying for a fight. Israel has answered, told him to keep his name out of his mouth. Personally, I think the UFC might end up making that fight because that might be the perfect fight for Izzy to bounce back on. You know what I'm saying? I mean, overall, I'd have to pick Izzy against Shira. I mean, Shira's a good striker, but he's not Adesanya. It just is what it is. Whether you like him or you don't like him, Izzy's still kind of that dude a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, I think the UFC might pivot and move toward that fight. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely a possibility because if Shira wins, well, you beat Israel Adesanya and he can move on. And that really gives him a big jump up in competition and a big jump up in the rankings. But if Izzy goes out there and wins, he beat an up-and-coming contender that a lot of people are watching. A lot of people might believe he's that next dude. I don't think Shira is, but a lot of people might believe that, especially after his spinning back fist knockout. I could see him making that fight. So we will see. Just wanted to drop in on you guys, let you know about a little bit of the news going on. You know what I'm saying? UFC Edmonton going down tomorrow in Canada. So we will definitely check that out. If you have any comments, anything, please let me know. Let me know what you think about some of this news, what's being reported. Let me know your picks for tomorrow's show. Or if you just want to come in and drop a dime on me, go ahead and drop a dime on me. Nevertheless, I do once again want to thank you guys for joining me for another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And I'll check you next time. Peace.